maybe you shouldn't buy this, but you will. The MacBook Neo. Okay, March 4th Apple event. Apple launched the highly anticipated MacBook Neo, and I really like this thing. The question is, should I? So in this video, we're going to talk about what did Apple get right with the device, what did they get wrong with the device, and I personally think it's a little bit of both, all right? But I do think it's going to be very difficult for Apple or Mac lovers to kind of resist this device. So let's go through all the specs right now. Okay, number one, design. I think Apple actually nailed this on the design here. It comes in a whole bunch of colors, which we're going to touch on in a second, but overall the design is perfect. I think it's small enough. I think a lot of Mac users are going to bite on this solely on the design of it, all right? Now, it does come, it's full aluminum. We thought maybe it could be possibly plastic, so they nailed that as well. I think there'll be very few equals in this price range for aluminum design here. And then look at the keyboards too. The keyboards kind of match the color slightly. So if you look at this kind of citrus color here, it's going to have more of a citrusy type, more almost a white keyboard versus the darker colors have a darker keyboard. So you're going to have some options here, some personality. And I think people are going to really eat that up. So overall, I think the design's nailed it here pretty good. Okay, the size. I think the size is pretty good. There's a couple pros and cons here. The screen is actually 13 inches. A lot of people were hoping for like 12.1 up to about 12.9. We got a little bit larger screen here, and overall, I don't think it's too bad, but it's maybe a little bit bigger than people wanted for a travel laptop. Also, the dimensions of it, all right? Take a look at my screen over here. You can see the dimensions here, 8.12 inches this way. Obviously, it's 0.50 thick. Now, that basically means it's a little bit thicker than a MacBook Air, which means that what's the weight of it? Like, take a look here, 2.7 pounds. So the weight of it actually matches the 13-inch MacBook Air, or the 13.6-inch MacBook Air. So the weight's exactly the same as that other system, which is kind of, we thought this was going to be a little bit lighter system for travel and stuff. So that's not really the case with the weight, but it's going to be a smaller dimension, I guess, system here because it's going to have a slightly smaller screen, just be a little bit thicker, if you can put that into perspective. But overall, I think it's fine. It's just not something that, people are wishing for at 12.1 inches. It's going to be slightly larger. Okay, colors here. It comes with 4 different colors. So what are the colors? It comes with silver, indigo here, which is kind of a blue, blush, the pinkish color, and then citrus, which is probably my favorite here. Now, I think Apple missed the boat a little bit on colors. I was hoping for maybe a darker green, maybe some darker colors like an orange or a red or something like that. I think this is what's going to separate this. This is for a younger generation, so I think this is a little unusual. Now, what was with that logo where we saw kind of that dark green color, I guess, and we didn't get a dark green here laptop, so I don't know. We got yellow, right? So I don't know what that logo was all about. We don't see any products with those colors. Everyone kind of missed the boat there, including myself. Anyways, I think it's a mix here, but still pretty cool colors. Okay, the biggest positive here is going to be the price. Let's just get into the price. $599. Nobody thought this was possible from Apple, especially with RAM being so expensive. We'll get into that in a second. So that $599 comes with a 256 gig SSD, 8 gigs of RAM. If you actually want to add basically Touch ID and then your storage goes up to 512, you have to add $100. That starts at $699. That's not too bad, all right, to add those two things. But it's kind of like a car salesman. If you want Touch ID, you got to upgrade also the storage, but it's going to cost you an extra $100. Overall, not bad, especially when these things are on sale and we see them $499. Educational discount will be $499. It puts it in a price where you have to look twice when you pass it. Now, just like we thought, the new Neo comes with an A18 Pro chip. What does this mean? We talked about this many times on the channel, but it basically means that single-core Geekbench 6 is going to be like an M4 MacBook Air, really fast. The dual-core, multi-core scores Geekbench 6 is going to be like an M1 Air. So there's quite a big difference there. So this is going to be a good single-core system. It's still okay for multi-core. Overall, I think it's very sufficient for this kind of a setup. This is going to be trying to reach different types of crowds that aren't really Mac users right now or people using kind of cheap Windows laptops. So I think it's sufficient right now, and it's exactly what we expected. It does come with 6 CPU cores and 5 GPU cores for all it's worth as well. The storage, we're going to have to test the speeds of it, but like we mentioned, standard comes with 256. At least it's not 128. You can upgrade to 512, but you cannot upgrade any higher than that, so there's no 1 terabyte options or 2 terabyte options. 512 is as much as you get. That's all we're asking. So I think that's not bad either. I think that's exactly what I expected on a system this cheap. So overall, you can't get everything. That's something that I wish 1 terabyte was in there, but would I buy it? I don't know. Okay, maybe they're getting some of this cost back by the screen. I don't think so. It's a pretty good screen here. So what is it? This is a 13-inch liquid retina display. It's going to be 2408 times 1506 resolution and 500 nits of brightness. You cannot complain here. Obviously, it's going to be a good screen. It's going to be probably one of the best screens in the sub or around the $500 laptop, especially when you're including Windows laptops. I don't think anyone switching over is going to be like, this screen sucks. I think they're going to be like, this is the best screen I've ever used. It may not be as good as the MacBook Pros. I think it's sufficient and good enough for sure. Also, for all the notch haters out there, there's going to be no notch on this, and I hope this is something that Apple's kind of moving towards in the future. So finally, we have a laptop without that dreaded notch. And again, a lot of people talk about this. You would think, it's not a big issue. It doesn't really bug me, but I think it's important for a lot of people. At the end of the day, do I wish this was like a 12.1 or a 12.4 inch kind of laptop here? Maybe it was around 2.1 pounds or 2 pounds or something like that. Yes, but again, we're talking hit the $599 price point, so I'm not going to complain about this. I think it's good enough, and that's what it needs to be. Okay, so for ports, did it hit or miss here? I think it's kind of a mix here, but I think it hit what we needed, all right? There is no MagSafe, that's number one. But we do get 2 USB-C ports. Unfortunately, only one of them is 480 gigabit per second. The other one's going to be 10 gigabit per second. So you get kind of a USB slower speed port and then a faster one. So both of those ports can actually charge your MacBook, but only the fast 10 gigabit per second port can actually run an external monitor. They're saying one external monitor, 4K at 60 hertz for all it's worth. You can also have your screen on it as well on the laptop, but one external monitor. You have to get it into the right port there for the monitors, and they're not labeled, so you're going to have to check where that port is. Long story short, though, it's 2 USB-Cs. Both will charge it. One's a lot slower than the other, and there's no Thunderbolt. So is it perfect? No. Is it good enough? Again, absolutely. Okay, what about the keyboards with all those cool colors? Well, we do get a full-size Magic Keyboard with the full function row keys. That's actually perfect as well. We're not getting a shrunk down. We don't get backlighting, I believe, on this, so that's one miss there. Some people love that. I almost don't care. I never use it. I turn lights on. Anyways, if it bugs you, you may want to look at it. For me, no issues. Okay, one thing that really surprised me here was the battery. I thought it was going to be the battery king here. They're saying up to 16 hours of battery life, which puts it below the MacBook Air. Now, something might be limiting this. They say it's 36.5 watt-hour battery. So what's limiting this? It could actually just be Apple. They may actually want to just say, hey, we're not going to give you everything for $599. That would be crazy. So we're going to kind of make sure this is not the battery leader. But 16 hours is incredible. It's going to beat almost any Windows laptop in this price range. People moving over are going to be surprised at that, so I think it's a win. Okay, so this actually does come with Wi-Fi 6E and then Bluetooth 6. I think that's perfect as well on a device like this. It also comes with a 1080p front-facing camera, which is perfect, dual mics. That's not bad as well. And then it says it actually has dual side-firing speakers with spatial audio. So take a look. I actually thought when I first saw this was actually an SD card on the side or something. But those are the speakers up near the front, and they're kind of dual firing, kind of out towards both sides of you. Should sound pretty good. Obviously, the Air and the MacBook Pros have more speakers. They're going to sound better. Apple's not stupid, but it'll be, again, better than any sub $500 Windows PC out there that you have a laptop. So I think it's going to be good enough. Okay. If there was one big miss here, I think it's going to be the RAM, all right? Now, it gets 8 gigabytes of RAM. There's no way to upgrade it. There's no 12 gigabyte option. There's no 16 gigabyte option. It's 8. Even if you go with the $699 version of this, you're only getting the additional storage. So for all it's worth, we're getting 8 gigs in 2026. The question is it can work now. It's probably going to be fine for a lot of people, especially from these budget, Windows laptops. And that's what they're going after. Those people are probably struggling on Windows laptops. This is going to feel snappy to them. And they're trying to move these people over and then go up to kind of the Apple ladder like we all do, right? So overall, I think it's going to be fine initially. The question is in 2 or 3 years, what's this going to be like? I think maybe as RAM kind of comes down in pricing in a year or so, Apple might start offering with a different chip. Might be a chip limitation now. With a different chip, maybe it's going to offer some other tiers there. But I think it's one of those things. I think this is the biggest miss by far. 12 would have made me a lot more comfortable. When I have 8, I'm going to sweat a little bit. Apple's good at using swap though, so it's going to be, again, good enough. Okay, so there we have it. Now, this is a product, again, that I'm saying most of us should not buy. but almost all of us will that love Apple. This is the kind of the situation that we're in, and I think Apple absolutely knows that. So, but it's not me and you that are actually the target audience for this, because you're watching Apple videos all the time. It's more the people, again, moving from the Windows systems that are on a $450 Windows laptop that they're, pulling their hair out using. They want to move to this thing. Everything's going to be smooth as butter. This is what they're actually going for, trying to get more services and stuff like that into the Apple, get these people in the Apple ecosystem. That's what they really want. This is a product that none of us should really buy, but I'm saying we all probably will. And unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I think Apple has a winner here, at least short term until the RAM becomes a problem. You guys tell me in the comments what you think. I think they're going to have a winner here. It's going to sell like hotcakes. A few more colors would have done better, smaller would have done better. 16 gigs of RAM would have done way better, but still, it's going to sell. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.